Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the first class of Canva workshop. That is day one for Canva workshop. Inshallah, in this session, we will discuss about few basics of Canva and yes. Okay, I can see my screen and I know that all of you can also see my screen. Inshallah, let's start with the with few details, inshallah, that I'm going to provide right now. First of them is that all of the session will be recorded and the session will be provided to you in this form, which means that uninterrupted recorded sessions, which inshallah later on we are going to have live session upon. You can always ask questions regarding these video clips, inshallah. Second thing, you have a community group that will have all the basics, which means that from day one till the final day of your designing journey, inshallah, I shall be providing you everything in that announcement group from this PDF to your recording. Everything will be provided over there. So keep an eye on that announcement group. And of course, you have your separate groups for question answers and doubts. And of course, another one for your task. Upon successful completion of your course, of your learning, inshallah, you will be given a certificate of completion. But of course, there are some points that you have to keep in mind. There's some regulations for the designing. Of course, you do not have to be on full attendance because this is a recorded session, but you have to complete the task to make sure that you are learning what is being told, inshallah. So without further ado, let's get started. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير آمين يا رب العالمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Okay, so you have this PDF in front of you. I'm going to make you look through the whole design, the website as well, but inshallah, let's start with this. This is your first class. Of course, I'm going to teach you how you're going to walk through this whole page. You can read the first page yourself. Of course, I'm going to provide you with the whole PDF, but I'm going to just quickly walk through these. So inshallah, things will be easier and it will be faster. First of all, overview on Canva. Why is Canva so important these days? And why is Canva being so told about everybody? Canva is basically simply a user-friendly graphic design platform. Of course, you already know about that. But why people are talking about it so much these days is because most people do not have time to design the whole graphic thing from scratch. So most of people or some busy brands are taking Canva as their lead and of course making great designs within minutes. You can do that as well by using Canva. The benefits of using Canva, of course, these are listed in front of you. Easy to learn and use, affordable and accessible, wide range of templates and design elements, and collaborative design and capabilities. Now, easy to learn and use, of course, it's very easy to learn. It won't take you maybe more than a week. Of course, if you have enough time with you to be committed to learning, you can learn Canva in one day. And of course, learning never ends, so you can take your as much time as you want to perfect your design skills, inshallah. It's easy to use, of course. After this whole PDF, we are going to go to Canva and inshallah, I will tell you how to actually use the templates. Why does it say it's affordable and accessible? It's accessible because it's nearly every part of the world you can use it, wherever internet is available, of course. Affordable because there's a free version of Canva, and of course, now there's also a premium version of Canva. For people who are later on going to talk about the education version of Canva, education version of Canva is basically provided by your teacher or anyone who is affiliated under the Canva school category. Okay, so that's a whole different thing. You can use Canva free version as well, and of course, you can use the premium version as well, but for that, you have to pay. The wide range of templates and design elements, of course, that's a set. It's a designing application or it's a designing platform. It's going to give you those details. And collaborative design. Why does it say collaborative? It's because you can design something of your own, and then of course you can provide the link to someone else and they can also join in your design, or you can actually create your own team on Canva. Coming back to the next thing, which is navigating the dashboard. Of course, right now, the best thing would be to actually show you how Canva looks like, right? So let's go to Canva over here. Let me quickly change it to the free version so we can actually see how it looks. You can join Canva for free, for which of course you are going to need an email or a Gmail, whichever it can be. It can be a Hotmail, Yahoo, whatever you use. You are going to sign in or sign up if you do not already have an account on Canva. You're going to sign up on Canva for free. Of course, I'm going to make sure that all of these classes will actually help you out to learn Canva for free, of course. So this is your layout, the dashboard, if you will. I'm going to clear this out right here. So these are the few designs. Of course, whenever you're working on designs, the designs will appear over here. This is how it looks. Some interfaces have changed in the past few years. So keep in mind that maybe if you've already learned Canva from someone else, or if you have already used Canva before, this layout looks different. And of course, the look also varies from wherever what software you're using your project on, inshallah. Coming back to our next slide, mastering graphic design principles. Now, of course, it's going to talk about every principle. Before that, I'm going to show you how Canva dashboard works. This ribbon on the left side actually shows you your home button, the projects that you're working on, of course, the templates. Templates can vary from everything. Now, because it's a designing software, remember, not a software, it's a designing platform. It's going to show you designs for different places. Like you can browse according to your categories. If you want to make a presentation, they have something for it. You're going to make posters, they have something for that as well. Instagram posts, you got it. Resumes, documents, flyers, mobile videos, you name it, they have it. And of course, you can just simply scroll down to things and you can select any design that you want. First thing. Second thing is your top ribbon. Now I'm going to go back to home, and you can see this is your top ribbon right over here. You can select anything from here as well. Of course, you can make me an image. This is all AI that has now been added to Canva. If you are anyone who used to use Canva from the days when AI was not that popular, of course, these things was not present in that versions. Of course, not forgetting about the search button, you can just simply search for your design. Right now, either you can search for the project that you've already made, or you can also search for new projects. For example, let's suppose I want to make an invitation card. So I'm going to write invitation. It's going to ask me what kind of invitation you want. So I'm just simply going to write invitation card and I'm going to click enter. It's going to show me the designs that I've already worked with and of course, a variety of designs that you can work with. Some of them are portrait and some of them are landscape. Landscape are basically something that is, well, it's horizontally laid and portrait something that is vertically laid. Keep that in mind. For your easier access, you can always remember that your phone screens, you use them in portrait version, right? And your laptops or your tablets or your TVs, you actually use them in landscape version. So I hope that's a good example. Of course, these are just templates. They are ready-made templates. You can just simply click on one and start editing them. I'm sure most of them you've already seen on social media, of course, or you can just simply click on create a blank card. Blank card means that you can do whatever you want. Sky is the limit. Let's click on one just for fun. Also remember one thing whenever you're clicking on something, because I'm going to make sure that we are going to use a free version of Canva. So wherever you see these crown which says pro, it means that it's premium, which is paid version, right? It says it's a premium template. Or if you're using, maybe you made an account for student, right? When you're actually making the whole account, Canva asks you, why are you using this account? Most of people actually click on maybe make their own projects, schools and stuff like that. If you're one of those, it might show you edu, edu, which stands for education. Of course, once again, that is a premium thing. You cannot use it unless you've already paid for it. So I'm going to use something that is very basic. Maybe let's go with this one. Once again, this one is not premium. This is free for use. I can simply click on customize this template, or I can just scroll and select something else. Of course, I do not work with any faces. This was a chance for me to tell. So I'm simply clicking on customize design. Now it's going to show the workspace that you're going to work with. That was the dashboard, which nearly had nothing that you can actually work with, but this is something that you are going to work from. Now, this is a good time for me to come back to our PDF, and I'm going to show some of the details over here. It says design principles. What are the design principles? Keep in mind, there are 4 in front of you: balance, contrast, emphasis, and pattern. Balance is something that you have to make sure that whatever you're using in your design is creating a visual equilibrium. Now, what is an equilibrium? Basically, you can also call it an equality. Okay, you are going to make sure that whatever you're designing is evenly distributed. If you're using any sort of elements, if you're using any sort of designs, if there are negative spaces in your design, if there are positive spaces in your design, what are these things? I'm going to quickly come back to our design, give you a proper example. As you can see in this design, if I remove few of the things, suddenly the whole design throws off, right? What do I mean by that? I can just simply click on maybe this, okay? And I'm going to change the color, make it red. Now, some of you might think that, okay, it's a pop of color, it looks nice. But how about this? I'm simply going to select something and make them right in the middle. What is this doing? First thing that comes into your head, maybe you won't think that it doesn't look nice over here. The first thing in your head will be, it's disturbing the text, okay? So this is something that you're going to make sure it's not doing. So this is balance. Balance is something that, of course, you can see things, or of course, balance can also be one more. Everything I select and it's going to be on the left side of my screen. Everything, okay? I know it's going to look horrible at the moment because I'm explaining it right now. I've placed everything on the right corner, right? Now, some of you might think, okay, it looks nice. It looks abstract. Everything at the right is on the left corner, of course. But this is not designed right, because if I want to use this kind of design, I have to make sure that my text also looks like that. Now, going back to my original design, what I'm doing, and all of these things are coming back, I'm clicking undo, which is of course Control Z on my laptop. There we go. Everything went back right to space. Second thing is contrast. What is contrast? Using differences in color, size, shape to create visual interest. What is visual interest, I might ask? Visual interest is something that when you look at something, you stay there for a second. You don't just like, okay, this is a design, and then you scroll. No. Visual empowerment is something that you have to make sure that, okay, when you look at a thing, it makes some kind of mark in your mind. For example, I want you to imagine a brand that has been using, okay, maybe not a brand. Think about the logo of YouTube in your mind right now. Now, if I'm right, most of you have, of course, have the icon in your head for YouTube. It has a play button, right? If I ask you, what are the color of those play buttons? the first thing that should come into your mind should be red and white. And if not red and white, black and white, or somewhere close to that, right? So this is basically something which I call contrast. Contrast is something, and of course, it is also visual interest because they have made an embark in your mind. Now you can negotiate those colors or that pattern in your mind whenever I say the word YouTube, right? If I say Twitter, Twitter, which of course in few years back was called Twitter, now it's called X, right? So when I say Twitter, what is the icon that comes into your head? The logo. The logo is, of course, that tiny little blue colored bird, or maybe black colored bird if you haven't seen that blue one. And of course, if I'm saying X right now, you're going to imagine a plain, maybe a letter X. Most of us do not actually know how the logo looks like, right? So keep that in mind. That is basically what visual empowerment is. Right now, as you can see, if I want to emphasize on something, now this is where it comes. If I want to make sure that people do not get confused between the what event it is, I'm going to make sure that people actually look at the image. Okay. Now it says engagement. Few moments ago, when it was not highlighted, of course, it was part of the image, right? But I wrote it in a different color so you can see it better. I can also click on this small text that wasn't really visible a moment ago, but when I change the text color of it, of course, it becomes a little more visible. This is called contrast, which means uses different colors just to make sure, different color or also sizes to make sure that people are looking at things that you want them to look. That is also the reason why we have the concept of heading, subheading, and body text. What is heading? Heading is something that is the largest. That is the first thing you see. And second, which is subheading. Subheading is something that is right below, sometimes right below the major heading, or it is something that you want to emphasize on, but it's not as important as the heading. Of course, then comes the body text. Body text is basically just the explanation of whatever the heading and the subheading is talking about. For example, if I go to the next page, I want you to keep your eyes on this surface area. Okay? Keep your eyes over here and remember to focus to see the first thing that you see. Okay? Now, this is your next page. I hope you saw this because if you see this is what we call, of course, contrast. Right now, we are not using color to give you contrast. We are using size to give you contrast. Why? Unlocking the power. This should be the heading. This should be the purpose of heading. So contrast cannot only be, limited to color. It can also go vast to size and shapes as well to create visual interest, which means that if I want someone to focus on this Shah family, I can increase the size of it while keeping the same color. So the color remains same, but I've just increased the size so you can also see it again. Or the reason why it said shape, I can also add a shape in the background to make it look more appealing. Emphasis, sorry, emphasis, which means highlighting key elements to draw viewers' attention. Now, once again, I've already talked about it. I have highlighted something to get viewers' attention, right? If I want to do that again, I can just simply make sure. Maybe I want the couple name, couple's name to be highlighted. So I can just make sure that this is highlighted and whatever this is, it's not bold first of all, because that is what is throwing us off. It shouldn't be caps lock. Okay, it's not caps lock. So maybe we'll decrease the size of it. And this I want emphasized. So I'm adding few things. Now, if you're confused about few things, do not worry. We will further talk about those. So now suddenly your focus went to Priya and Mohit. So that is what highlighting key elements is. Pattern, repeating elements to create visual rhythm and unity. What is repeating elements? Repeating elements is something that your eyes get used to. The best example for it is basically one of those social media videos that there's a narrator at the background, they're speaking, and then there is also a subtitle. The subtitle usually is at the middle of the screen or at the bottom of the screen, right? And it does not move from there. So that is what we call pattern, right? It does not move from there, although the text is changing, right? But your eyes know, your brain knows that, okay, this is where the text is. Similar goes for our footer. Footer in our designs, for example. I'm going to quickly give you an example for that. I have this, well, not this one. Give me a second. I'm going to open this one. Open a new tab. Going back to my design. Okay. So as you can see, this is my design. This is called footer. Let it quickly load first so I can show you. Okay. So this is my footer. Footer is something that always remains there. Footer is something that always remains there. And most of the time, logos also, this is logo. Logo also have a place designated for it, right? So that is what a pattern is, that whenever you're working on something, whenever you're looking at something, you have this thought at the back of your head, okay, this is where the text or this is where this thing should be. That's a pattern that most of people follow. Going to our next page, unlocking the power of colors. Color is basically something, I believe that color have moods, right? And I can prove it to you. How can I prove it to you? Now I want you to imagine a happy day, right? If you're imagining every bright colors, then of course, I hope that you agree now that colors do have moods, right? And I want you to imagine maybe a sad day and make a poster for it. All right. I'm going to make sure that all of you have this image in your head. So I am going to give you a scenario for it, right? Imagine that you're walking in an autumn breeze, leaves are falling, right? And then you find an abandoned desk, right? It's not a chair, it's a desk and it's abandoned. Now I want you to picture the color, right? The color of that scenario. Keep in your mind it's an autumn season, which means, of course, leaves is falling down. No, not one, not two, so many of it. I hope you have colors in your mind. The colors should be autumn colored because I've said that word, right? Autumn colors means, rusty colors, maybe browns and rusty orange or anything, any sort of those colors, right? Contrary to that, if I say that imagine a day of spring, flowers are blooming, sun is shining, maybe there's a little cloudy sky, not yet rainable, but just cloudy a little, right? Because the moment I said spring, you should be able to see colors, right? So color does actually have moods. Now, that's not just me saying it, everybody believes it. So, hence we have the color theory. Color theory means simply something understanding color relationships, such as complementary analogs and triadic, triadic color schemes. Triadic basically means structural color themes. Colors are important in your brand. Keep that in mind. If you're working for someone and they have a logo, just ask them to give you the logo because most of the time the logo has the colors, right? As for me, as for Learn Islam, the people who are actually making it possible for you to learn designing, right? At least the basics of it. They have a logo. Their logo is blue colored. And it's not just a plain blue color. If you want to see, I'm simply going to click over here on our website. And you can see that Learn Islam does actually have a logo. Now you can see it is blue colored. It is sort of sky blue color, but it is not a proper blue. There's a darker shade. There's white involved in it, right? So already, if you're working with a brand, they have colors. Now, just because they have colors does not mean that there is no color theory. That why do they use that color? Most brands do not actually use colors because of their color theory. They just use it because they look right, right? Which of course as well is a color theory because they look right. Then comes color psychology. Color psychology is basically something that is designated for that color. For example, if I say that you are making a logo or maybe a poster or maybe a warning sign, the thing that should come in your head should be red. I'm talking about danger. I'm talking about warnings. I'm talking about cautions. I'm talking about do not do that. All of those things. I'm talking about the stop sign, right? All of those should pop up in your head in red colors. Whereas if I talk about mm, what do you call that? You know, grow plants, save earth, all of those things, you should think about green in your head, right? And contrary to that, if I talk about rain, right? If I talk about thunderstorms, if I talk about lightning strikes, you have a variety of colors that's already going in your head because human brain is more complex than we know it, right? When I say a word, you have the answer for it. The problem is that most of the time people do not know how to manage that answer and we have nothing left, which basically also goes for that it's raining and you have nothing to catch the rain in, right? So this is something what our brain is. So you have to make sure that whenever you are sitting down to think something, or sometimes it happens that you're not actually thinking, but your brain is giving you answers. Maybe write it down. That's the best way to say it. Or if you cannot write it down, record yourself because of course your hand cannot keep up with the way your brain thinks, but your mouth can. That's the best thing. So you can just speak the words. You have phone these days. If you do not have phone, then of course you can record it in someone else's phone. It can be your sister or maybe your father or your mom or anyone on your friends. Most of people actually have phones in this time era, or of course, if you do not have access to any of them, then of course, paper and pencil. Everybody have that, right? So inshallah, go for that. So color psychology is basically something that you're going to make sure you're using an intricate design. Intricate design is something that relies on color. Okay, and of course, then is creating color palettes. Color palettes is something that your brand will speak with. For example, I want you to imagine some big brands like maybe Adidas. The moment I say Adidas, most of you will have some basic colors in your head, right? Mm, black and white. That's what they actually usually work with. Or I can also tell you to imagine maybe Amazon, right? Amazon is something that you're going to have some colors in your head. The logo is basic, it has a low, an arrow with it, right? Or you can also imagine FedEx, which is, I believe, it's purple and orange. Similarly, you can also think about other brands such as you can also think about NASA. NASA is something that just have letters and things. Okay. So basically, color palette is something for your brand and it actually gives you a better goal in life. For example, Google has been using same color palette for a decade now, right? So now whenever you see those colors, you're like, okay, that is Google, right? So keep that in mind. Colors does matter. Going back to our next page, going to our next page comes typography, choosing the right fonts. Now, these are three things that you're going to remember. These make or break your design. Font styles. Font styles basically, it can be your brand font. Brand font, the reason why I'm emphasizing on one or other things is because I'm going to make sure that you have a design pattern. Most people actually have their own way of designing. Of course, I'm sure that most of you know about some famous painters, right? And those painters have their unique way of portraying their message into their designs. You're going to make sure that you also have that unique way of portraying things. So pick things, design things, and you will find that out. Now, coming back to our font styles, select fonts that align with your brand and message. Of course, if you do not have a brand and you work for others, it's going to change. Variety of fonts will come to you. Alignment is important. Now, what is font and what is alignment? Let's come to our workplace now. This is font. The way it's looking is the font. If I click on it and you find this whole ribbon for text, I'm going to click on this area, which is font. This is your font. Now, font is basically something that allows you to see the text in a different way. It can either be funky, it can be funny, it can be horror, it can be anything you want it to be. Of course, the sky is the limit. Alignment is something, right now, everything is in the middle alignment. Middle alignment is just simply means that you're writing everything in the middle of the page of the working space, right? And then comes the left alignment. I'm going to select, well, this is your alignment. Right now it says it's on the left alignment. I'm going to click on it, left alignment. The reason why you can't really see alignments right now is simply because there isn't much to see right now. I'm going to click on these two, and this is the right alignment. If you do not understand most of the things right now, it's okay, because right now I'm just explaining few things. And of course, these two are middle alignment. Now I want you to see left alignment, middle alignment, right alignment, right? Which means that there's a line in between and you're writing either on the left side of it, either on the right side of it, or just in the dead center. So those are the alignments. Now comes the font sizes. Use different sizes to create hierarchy and emphasize, right? Coming back to our topic, which was basically same thing. If I decrease the size of it, you do not want to see it. Why? Because your brain gives you some sort of example that, okay, it's not important. But the moment I click on it now, if I actually change the color of it again, make sure that it's the same color, but I just increase the size of this text, your brain will force you to read this first. Why? Because I am giving signals to your brain to read this first. Similarly, if I increase the size of this one, the next thing that your brain will force you to read is, of course, this. Of course, you can train your brain to not read the big things first, but that is how normally things work. So font sizes, once again, they matter. Spacing, adjust letter spacing, and line height for readability. What is line spacing and what is letter spacing? I'm just simply going to click on this Shah family and talk about few things. This is your font. You can change your font styles from here. This is your font size. You can either change your font size like this, right? Or you can simply click from here, or you can just simply write your font size over here. Okay. This is the color of your font, the text color of your font. This is if you want to bold your font, if you want to italic your font, if you want to underline it, if you want to strike through it, if you want to uppercase it, or maybe lowercase it again. This is alignments. We've just talked about it. This is if you want to write it in bullet points. Of course, in numbers as well. And now we are going to talk about spacing. If you're going to click on spacing, this is letter spacing. Letter spacing is something that when I decrease it, all of your alphabets come together. If I increase it, they grow apart. And of course, what line spacing it for line spacing, I'm going to make sure that I actually have the text in 2 lines first of all. If I decrease the line spacing, the text, of course, align together in a line form. And if I increase it, sorry, it goes apart, right? I'm going to click on this undo button until I get the proper one back right here. And of course, then you have some font formatting, which means that either you want, maybe if you're writing something like 21st April 2024. You see how the ST went at the top, right over here, this ST, because of this. If you do not want that, you can simply click on it. If you want this, you can do that as well. All right. Or you can just simply click on something and do it manually, right? You can click on typography as well. Of course, I'm going to talk about these things in detail. And then comes inspiration. Okay, that came out of nowhere. Inspiration is something just which is also called design resources. First of all, for inspiration, everything that you see is inspiration, right? But if you want proper inspiration, then of course, we have Canva design schools. You also have Behance and Dribble to actually look at someone else's design, what they're making, right? Now, see, I'm going to click on right Behance over here. And you are going to see some of the designs. Now, some of them are going to be very intricate. Please do not feel disheartened because these people are using proper softwares, right? Which, of course, you can also do. Just walk into the world of designing, and inshallah, in near future, you will be one of these people who are designing these things as well. Second, Dribble. No, not over here. Dribble. Once again, everything is free to look at. You can look at things and imagine, all right, I'm going to use this one, right? So inspirationally, everything is free. You can use it. And of course, Canva Design School is basically something that you can actually enroll in courses, right? If you ever want to learn directly with Canva, you can go for it. How can you do that? Let's go back to home. Click on this arrow. Of course, I have some teamworks as well. I scroll down to that arrow and you have Canva School. You can simply click on this and learn how to use Canva, their secrets, what's new in Canva to learn for free, right over here. You can enroll in the courses. Of course, you can complete the courses according to them. They say that courses are this much. You can just learn about this. Remember, Canva only teaches in English. For now, you can also use the captions features if it's available. Color palettes, of course, these are a few websites that you can search for color palettes. I'm going to click on this color hunt one that I actually have it over here. Some basic color palettes, because if you are not working for a brand, then you need a basic color palette to work with. Inshallah, this should come handy for all of you. Oh. Yay, I accidentally closed it. Let me quickly reopen it. The unopen. Okay, got it back. So you can go to the websites and inshallah search about it. And of course, let's actually design with the details that I have provided you up until now. You can either enroll into Canva itself or you can start designing your designs right from here. I hope this session was beneficial for you and inshallah we will start designing properly in our next class. Until then, please take care of yourselves and walk through the PDF that is going to be provided inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.